Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you guys are new here, my name is Nkenna. I am responsible for everything that goes on here. Today we're going to be doing a chit chat video, and as you guys can tell from the title, we're going to be talking about nursing school study tips. So go ahead, grab a snack, grab something to drink, get comfy. It might be kind of a long one, we'll see. All right, so tip number one is going to be avoid studying at home. I do not get any work done when I'm at home. I associate coming home with going to sleep. As you guys can see, my bed is right there, and my desk is often very, very cluttered. This is like my dump spot for everything and anything. So I typically do not get too much work done because I know it's easy to just pivot, get in bed. So I would suggest studying in the library, finding places where you know that you can't easily fall asleep. I know personally, I just have a fear of falling asleep in public spaces. I don't want to get robbed. I don't like falling asleep in public spaces. So I go to the library, I study on campus, coffee shops, whatever it may be. Just study in a public space because it's more conducive to studying. Tip number two would be to find accountability partners. Find somebody that you can check in with periodically and they can ask you, hey, have you started studying for this test? Or, you know, can I reference your notes? And usually when people start asking, hey, let's start studying for this test, if you haven't, then that's like, oh man, like I really need to start looking at this material. But just finding like-minded people, like-minded goals, and finding people who will, you know, remind you like you need to be doing this homework assignment is due this day. And it's not like they're always telling you what's due, but you guys, it's reciprocal. You guys can say, oh, you know, make sure you remember to do this, and then they'll tell you, make sure you remember to do this. I typically try to avoid studying with my friends. Not to say that the people who I study with are not my friends, but it's just very easy to get off task when you're studying. So find people who, even if you maybe joke a little bit here and there, they will reel you back and say, okay, we need to get back to this material. Tip number three would be repetition and consistency. For me, I learn best through repeating things. So I'm a big advocate of dry erase boards. So I will be the first person to tell you, go invest in a dry erase board. And I like to brain dump. And what brain dumping is basically I will write a header. So if we're talking about rheumatoid arthritis, I will write down everything that I know about rheumatoid arthritis. And I might make a master concept map, which is another point that I'm going to talk about, but I will write down everything that I know about rheumatoid arthritis, go back through the PowerPoint slides, go back through my notes and see what I missed, and then fill in the gaps in a different color. And I'll keep doing that every day leading up to the test until I don't miss anything. And that lets me know if I'm going through osteoarthritis and I know everything about osteoarthritis, then I don't need to spend so much time reviewing that material. I need to spend more time on rheumatoid arthritis or multiple sclerosis or other musculoskeletal diseases that I may not be as sharp on. Tip number four would be to find somebody to quiz you. I've had my sister quiz me. I've had the guy that I'm dating, I've had him quiz me because he has no nursing knowledge. He's in engineering, mechanical engineer, so I can give him my stuff. He will quiz me, he knows nothing about it, and be like, teach me about this disease. So that really helps, just giving your notes to anybody, whether it's a classmate or a relative, somebody who has no knowledge of nursing, because it forces you to be honest with yourself and really think about what you know and what you don't know. It's easy for you to read through PowerPoint slides and be like, oh, I knew that, or oh, I remember that. But if you give it to somebody else and you tell them, you know, here are the points that I need to know for the exam, here's what's really important. If you're studying diseases, like what are the hallmark signs and symptoms? What's the patho of it? You know, what is the drug treatment? How do you diagnose this? If you give all that information to them and then you ask them to quiz you, then there's no gray area. Either you know it or you don't. So definitely I would recommend getting somebody to quiz you. I like to have people quiz me like kind of in the early stages of me learning the material, and then getting closer to exam day, I will ask multiple people to quiz me on information. Tip number six, this goes back to a previous point. I like concept maps and I like templates. Let me see if I can find one and show you guys, but I will show you guys a template that I used for PathoPharm and then I used for MedSurg, and it's helped me a lot. I tried for a while to not use it and I noticed a change in my grades, so I quickly went back to using it. But templates, concept maps, they may seem a little juvenile. We did these a lot when we were in elementary school, middle school, but these really, really help because it goes back to that repetition. You fill in all the need to know information and you're not getting lost in the sauce, so to speak. You just narrow in your focus on the important information. Again, the pathology, the nursing interventions, signs and symptoms, drugs, treatment, diagnosis, all of that. So this is my PathoPharm binder. This is one of them, but you guys can see this is a chart and it is for antibiotics, common antibiotics, antivirals, and antifungals. And it says drug class, actions and uses, adverse reactions, nursing considerations. So you just go through and fill in all of that stuff. But it puts it in a very focused type of area that you guys can see everything that you need to know for different types. So we have like down this side the names of the drugs, and it's penicillin, cephalosporin, vancomycin, tetracycline, and so on and so forth. Again, another drug chart. This isn't quite a template, but you can go through, make a master drug chart, and then as you get closer to the exam, then leave it blank and then go through and fill in the things that maybe you're going to be tested on, gaps in knowledge, what you're not so strong on, what you're not so confident in. Okay, so I found it. So this is what the template looks like. You guys can see it's highlighted, but I just print these off in multiples, and I have different headings, and then at the top, always at the very top, it's going to be the disease, and then it changes. So for this one, it says the disease, what is it, manifestations, hallmarks, pathology, and drugs. That's the way that it goes on this. So we were just talking about rheumatoid arthritis, and this is the rheumatoid arthritis template. I went through and filled out everything that I knew in black ink pen, and then in red ink pen, I followed through and wrote the things that I wasn't so clear on, I was a little bit foggy on, or somebody had to jog my memory on. So again, templates, concept maps, things like that, you just go in, you brain dump, you write what you know, and then you follow back through, and then you write in a different color what you didn't know. So then this forces you to look at, okay, I really don't know this so well. So that closer to the exam, you can point out your strong points, and then you can point out your weak points as well. Tip number 6, I'm losing count. I'm gonna stop counting now. The next tip would be to look at YouTube for guidance. I know one person that I really liked was Kathy Parks. She goes through the HEI books and she just breaks it down, hits the need to know, highlights and points, and that is like a very clear and concise way. She's essentially like Khan Academy but for nursing school, and it's really, really nice because sometimes before an exam, you know, my head is going a million miles a minute, so it's nice to watch one of those videos, narrow your focus, reel it back in, and just know like, hey, it's, you know, it's maybe you're looking through the textbook or you're looking through supplemental material and you don't really know where to sit down and focus your energy and your attention. So YouTube videos are really good. There are other things sometimes I'll YouTube for with the cardiac drugs. I YouTube this one guy and he taught me funny mnemonics on how to remember the different, you know, cardiac drugs. So like he was like, beta blockers, oh LOL, like they're so common, of course they're going to use a beta blocker, it's laughable, things like that. It's, you know, it teaches you little funny things. So I would definitely recommend YouTube as a secondary resource after you've already referenced your teacher's notes and already looked at the textbook. Definitely go to YouTube. The next step would be to invest in some really good comprehensive NCLEX books, and I think this is going to be a YouTube video within itself on my channel, but I was told by professors from day one that I should have had comprehensive NCLEX books, and the reason why is not to start studying for the NCLEX a year, 2 years in advance. It's just you see how they formulate nursing questions, and if you get a good one that has rationales, then you can see, okay, this is why this answer is wrong, or this is why this answer is right. Because I know for me, I don't like being told like this is wrong and then not giving reasoning. But if you work me through it, if you walk me through it and show me why you arrived at this answer, then I'm more likely to get that question correctly on a future exam. So definitely recommend comprehensive NCLEX books that have rationales. They can only ask you about a certain content area so many ways. So once you see this and they formulate it, maybe you might see it worded in a similar fashion on your own nursing school exams and say, hey, I've seen something like this, and it teaches you proper test processing and further develops your nurse brain. The next tip would be to study without music. I was doing a simulation during my first week of school, and one of my professors, she made us read through a paragraph, answer some questions, and she played music. And then she did the same exact thing but didn't play any music, and you would have guessed it that we did much better when there was no music playing. So I know for a lot of people, especially me, I don't really watch television, but I do like the background noise from it, and it's very easy to get distracted. Even studying with music, sometimes I will be taking notes, go back through, read my notes, and I have written out song lyrics. So I have adopted a new practice in nursing school, and that is to listen to rain sounds. There's a 10-hour long video on YouTube, and it's just rain sounds, thunder, lightning, and I study to that, and it's very calming, very peaceful. I don't get sleepy to it. So finding something, I know one person, they listen to white noise, whatever it may be for you, but try to avoid listening to music while studying. Next step would be to read the book. And I know this sounds very, very simple. However, just sometimes you know, you're in nursing school, sometimes you might be a second degree student, you're like, oh my goodness, do I have to read the book? I know with my first degree, I did not have to read the book and I could still get A's and B's on every test. But with nursing school, it's not like that. You really need to read the book unless your professor tells you completely neglect the book, which I've had a professor tell me, don't read the book, it's absolute trash, like just only do the homework assignments. In that case, listen to them. I say all this to say a personal example was that I took a community health class first semester of nursing school, and I could not figure out how to hack those tests. As soon as I started reading the book, going through the case studies, answering those practice problems, using the supplemental materials that they had in the online ebook, that's when my grades just dramatically change. So you really want to use the resources because the professors aren't just making you buy these books for no reason, and it may be as simple as just read the book, look at the course objectives, and that's where you're finding your answers, and that's how to crack the code of those tests. The next tip that I have for you would be to avoid going all the way back to the beginning of the material and starting over. So this would look like if you have 4 different PowerPoint presentations and each presentation is 200 slides a piece, and you get on PowerPoint slide 1, you get to slide 36. And you're like, okay, I'm done studying for the day. The next day you start studying again, but you start studying at slide 1. The next day you open up that same PowerPoint presentation, but you go back to slide 1, and then maybe you get to slide 50 today. By doing this, you're never gonna get through all the materials. So a practice that I've adopted throughout nursing school is if I get through a PowerPoint slide, if I finish on slide, I don't know, 94 of 100. The next day I'm gonna finish through that slide deck and then I'm gonna open up a new PowerPoint presentation. And I'm gonna keep doing this until I make it all the way throughout the material, and then I will start over. By doing this practice of opening up the same slide deck and starting over at 1 and then seeing how far you get every day, you will never get through all of the material. And then the last tip would be to give yourself enough time. You're in nursing school, congratulations, it's major, but then you also wanna keep in mind that people's lives one day will depend on this, so you need to study like it. You simply do not want to pump and dump the information. It doesn't need to be a thing that you cram, memorize it, you regurgitate it for the exam, and then you don't remember it, because you're gonna have to take a licensing exam at the end of your program. So you wanna make sure that you're retaining this information. And the beauty of nursing school is that everything builds on itself. So nothing is useless knowledge. So things that we learned in fundamentals and pharmacology and patho, those things all build on each other. So if you didn't understand it then you're really gonna struggle when you get to med surg or when you get to older adult gerontology, whatever they call it in your program, but you're just gonna struggle as you progress through these upper level courses. So definitely give yourself enough time to really comprehend the material so you're not just memorizing and regurgitating the material. So that is it. That's all that I have for you guys. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys have any special video requests, definitely let me know. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns, leave them down below. You guys can always find me on Instagram. That's usually where you're gonna find me if I'm not on here. And that's pretty much it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys later. Bye.